Well, hello to everybody here. It's Teresa Sanderson. Very excited to connect with you today for another episode of the Nurse Entrepreneur Spotlight. We have an awesome guest today. Her name is Kelly Friesen, and Kelly is the founder of Friesen Holistic Services LLC, and she has a very unique business. Kelly helps promote growth and independence for individuals who live with an autism spectrum disorder through her nurse advocacy and life skill coaching services. So welcome, Kelly. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Teresa. I really appreciate you having me. It's an
Oh,
honor.
I'm so excited to have you here. So excited. So a little bit of history, a little bit of bio from Kelly. For those of you who don't know her, she's a registered public health nurse of 33 years, mother of a young adult who lives with an autism spectrum disorder. Kelly's worked in a variety of settings, including home care, clinic, hospital, and ambulatory surgery. She's a past member of the Minnesota Nurses Governmental Affairs Committee, currently serves as representative on the Minnesota Nurses Pension Committee. She's also a disability activist and currently serving on the Waiver Reimagine Advisory Committee for the state of Minnesota. And I think that's where you caught my attention. I saw the Reimagine banners and that kind of thing. So she is passionate about autism because of the years of advocating for her own son to get his needs met. Friesen Holistic Services was created to fulfill the unmet need in her community for individuals with autism, and young adults who live with autism now have the benefit of nurse advocate services to promote life skills, growth, and independence. Oh my gosh, welcome again, Kelly, and thank you for joining
Thank you.
us.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was a really very nice, welcoming introduction. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
The one thing I do want to share with your viewers is that the cool thing about being in the nursing profession is we are blessed to have so many opportunities to do different things. Like, as you mentioned, I've done hospital work, I've done clinic work. I was actually able to work with an infectious disease physician one-on-one as a nurse clinician for several years, which I learned a ton of things. Home care, it's just the opportunities are endless. And the fun thing is now, last 20 plus years, I've been in ambulatory care nursing, and I still have that as my part-time day job because for anybody who's going into trying to start a business, it doesn't just happen like that. So the bills still need to be paid. But I enjoy my day job. We do such a variety of things there. And what's really fun is that all of the different things I've done over the years, I think have really prepared me to try to take this next journey and this next level. And, so I'm really excited to be here and to talk about that.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. And I think, nursing is the kind of career that each experience can build on the last. I've also had a pretty diverse career in nursing, and sometimes it was just the state of the union, like many times I was involved in mergers and acquisitions when one hospital bought another, and there were just a sudden shift of everybody's role and all of those kind of things. So you're absolutely right that we have so many opportunities, but tell us a little bit more. You shared a little bit about the type of nursing that you've done and what you've worked in, but what really drew you into the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question because I really don't think I was necessarily drawn into entrepreneurship. I feel like it found me. And that really was based because in my area where we live, we really have an unmet need. As you mentioned, I have an adult son who is going to be 25 at the end of this month. And just to give you a little background on autism prevalence right now, back when he was diagnosed back in 2001, we had about 1 in 150 kiddos that were diagnosed on the spectrum. And now we are down to this year down to 1 in 36 across America. And in Minnesota, it's 1 in 34. So there is a huge discrepancy for the number of providers that are out there versus the number of people that need services. And I've been super proactive with my son ever since he had his diagnosis, because actually, a little fun fact, when he was 3, he was diagnosed, and I was actually looking at becoming a nurse practitioner at the time. I was applying to different colleges, and then we got the diagnosis, and I just knew this wasn't going to be an option. I knew there was going to be a lot of therapy we had to get into, which we did. But so we took that journey instead. But when he was in high school, I knew that he was going to need some kind of supported living services if he was ever going to be on his own. So we got on some waiting lists. And 3 years later, we got a call, which I was very excited about. I'm like, yay, finally something in our area. But I was disappointed quickly when I found out that they weren't able to meet all his needs. And in addition, they needed to take over all of the waiver money that I currently use to provide services and supports for my son. So that just wasn't going to work, So it was really that. And just another quick statistic, well, first of all, adulting, autism doesn't stop when you're an adult, right? And we've done a really good job with, I think, providing school age and services for younger kiddos, early intervention, but it's really lacking when you get into the adult population. And a recent statistic I saw with the Autism Society is they're estimating that anywhere from 70,000 to 110,000 school age kids are going to age out of services, and they need the help. So going back, what drew me into entrepreneurship, there's an unmet need and it's not out there. And so I wanted to create something that the waiver money could stay with the caregivers or the individuals that are helping this young person while still trying to really promote growth and independence, because I've been through a lot with my son, and I know where he went from being very limited with his abilities to he actually works full time with support. But he loves it. He has so much enjoyment in his job right now that, I just really, I want to send that message to other people, and I want to give other people the idea that there's more to autism than we know.
I love your story. And I think a couple of things that I want to point out here for our audience. Number one, the whole business that you have started is, it's such a classic example of find a need and fill it. You hear that so many times in business. How do you start a successful business? You find a need, you fill it. But the other thing is, you're also someone who has a great passion for this work because of your personal experience, because of the love you have for your son and everything that you guys have endured. But I mean, there's no better bridge for anybody experiencing the same thing than somebody passionate like you carrying the torch and lighting the way. So I just, I've got goosebumps right now just thinking about what you're doing and how many lives you're going to be able to impact through the work. So wow,
and
incredible.
It's sort of this need of, I'm not going to be here forever, and so there's got to be a plan. I need something to know that he's got the care that he needs after I'm gone, for him and others like him. So, that's why I'm really going to try hard to get this up and going. And it's been interesting. It's been fun. I've been meeting some challenges along the way, just because, one big thing has sort of been the payer sources. Payer sources like to put things in a box. And when you think of a nurse working out in the community, you think of home care, but I'm not home care. I'm a nurse as an independent contractor. There's a lot of things, and you sort of touched on this. We have the professional background, and when you have the passion and the education, there's so many other things we can do. So what I'm in the business of doing right now is trying to advocate on the public policy end, because when I was a mom, all I heard was there's no providers out there. And now that I'm a provider, I understand why. We've made it really difficult to get the services to those that need them. And it shouldn't be that difficult. So I've sort of taken, and part of my business is being a nurse advocate. So it's sort of taken me down this road of reaching out to my local legislators, working with the Health and Human Services Committee for the state of Minnesota to just say, where's the disconnect? And then this blessing of being on the Waiver Reimagine Committee, I applied for that before I started my business. I was as a parent, and it's just, this all sort of merged together. I wasn't when I didn't plan on all this to come together, and it sort of just is. But I just, through the networking and all the people I've met, what I've realized is I'm not alone.
Yeah.
There's so many other providers out there that are having some of the same experiences. And, we need to ask why and figure out where that disconnect is and start making some changes.
hmm And I think, you're doing all the right things. And I think that's one of the things that is important for any nurse and entrepreneur to do is just continue to put one foot in front of the other and take the next right step. We can't always see exactly where the path is leading, but if we just take the next right step, something's going to reveal itself. And I believe what you're going to be getting into is a new standard of care for this specific population, which is sorely needed. Let's revise it. Come on, we can't ignore this if we've gone from 1 in every 150 to 1 in every 34, 36 people. This is a big deal. So
it is.
I applaud you for taking those steps. And even though you don't know necessarily where is it all going to go, it's important because not only does it matter to your son, it matters to so many others. And so I love your perspective of, I have to create something now so that he's taken care of in the future and all others. So love that. Love that. So tell me, go
one
ahead.
thing, I just want to say, every step forward is a step forward. And I have a vision and I see it's going to work. The thing is, I've got to get others to see it would work. And, I think I'm old enough to remember when nurse practitioners and nurse anesthetists were not a thing, and it was a big deal to get nurse practitioners in the clinic. You don't do that, you see a doctor. And, now the care setting I'm in with nurse anesthetists, 90%, 97% of the procedures we do are nurse anesthetists. So it's just going to take some time. It's going to take some education of the community to the payer sources that nurses can do this and we can add so much. That's I'm not giving up. It's going to happen. It's going to take some time.
Yeah. And, that's the role of a visionary, though, is to cast that vision, to see something that other people don't see yet and work toward it every day. That's a visionary. So yay, you. Now, tell us a little bit about your advocacy services and how is it that you serve your clients? How do you help people?
Well, the big thing is really promoting growth and independence, which means like working on life skills. And as you become an adult, unfortunately, a lot of adults with autism live with their parents. And so, but when you become an adult and you go to the doctor, it's weird to have your parents there. And so, you need to learn how to self-advocate for yourself. So part of my business is going with individuals to the doctor, to the different appointments they have, to teach them how to ask the right questions, what information to bring so that they can have a successful visit. And then, really encourage them to move beyond their own growth as they know it, because I'm all about meeting people where they're at. But I also think, just from what I've seen with my son, I know there's so much more that can be done, because, there was a time when he was little, I never knew if he was going to read or write. And I mean that, because we just had so many significant challenges. But because I've seen it and I know it can happen when you have the right supports, I want to give other people a message of hope. So service navigation is another way, because that's the other thing. If you can't get the services, you can't make the growth. And if you've ever had to deal with Medicare, medical assistance, insurances, you know what a nightmare it can be to get the right people on the right phone call. So that's part of my services too, is I will also help. If I can't provide it, let's find out who can. And let's get you connected with the right people, because this population has so much to offer. And I think we have a really untapped talent just sitting there that we need to get into and let people know that there's more to life.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I love that. And I love that one of the most beautiful aspects of your work that has to be very rewarding is being able to see these people, these individuals with autism on the spectrum living to their fullest potential, right?
Oh, yeah. And my son's an example. So for example, like him working full time right now with support, his company is so good at empowering him to know that what he's doing, it makes a difference, because he's working at a medical device company. And so he comes home and he goes, Mom, I'm saving lives. And like he
Oh,
is, the
that's
parts he
great.
makes helps people. But
Yeah,
he gets such fulfillment out of that. So,
yeah,
could we sit at home and live off SSI? Probably. But where would that get him in life? Where would
right,
that he values what he does. He has a sense of purpose. It's a social outlet. He's
right.
got friends. There's just and I want other people to understand there's more to life, and you can do this too if you have the right supports in place.
I love that. I love that. That's wonderful. So tell me, we talked about the work you do. We've talked about some of your challenges, finding payer sources and things like that. What is it about this business and working for yourself that you value most of all, or that you love most of all?
Well, that's funny because I really like being able to make my own decisions on one hand. On
Uh-huh.
the other hand, it's one of the biggest challenges. There's days I'm like, could somebody just tell me what to do? But I have been so blessed because I'm very inquisitive and I don't like no, or I don't like, we don't do that. So I'm always reaching out to other people. And I have met such a network of different people that have been so helpful. And the fun thing I think I mentioned is that this isn't just happening to my son or my situation. This is happening a
Right.
lot more. So the networking and the different people I've met who've been super supportive to say, yes, this is a problem and we need to do something about it. I think that's
Mhm.
been the most rewarding. So even though my business has sort of taken this road I really wasn't planning on, I
Mhm.
feel like it's bigger and it's really going to do good for more people because nurses, we've got to continue to try to make the conditions better than they currently are for our populations.
Wow. Yes, yes, yes. And we have to recognize when things are changing. Um,
Right,
we have things available now that, whether that's medicines, treatments, harsh chemicals, you know what I mean? So many things that we have developed, from processed foods to all of these
right,
things that affect our wellness and how well we live, that
right,
weren't available, those 30 years ago when we had one in every 150, right? How have all of these environmental factors
right.
now come to affect our overall health? So there's so much that plays into that, right? So much that plays into that. So we have to relook at population health. We have to rethink what we've done
Right.
before, and even recognize that there may be new, um, what I want to say, new categories that
Yeah.
fall into population health, right? We have to recognize that and be ready to treat, ready to treat, ready to manage and recognize. So love
Well,
that. Go
and
ahead.
that's a fun thing, I think nurses forget is we do have an independent practice. We have the ability to provide nursing services. So like my business is independent of a physician because as a professional nurse, I can do nursing diagnosis, which, I never thought in a million years I'd want to get back into care planning 101. I mean, think about
I
that.
love
I'm
that.
like,
Yep.
really? What am I doing to myself? But it's true, we need to go back to basics and think about Maslow's hierarchy and where do we start to build people up? Because,
Mhm.
well-being is so important. If you're not feeling good and taking care of yourself, it's this perpetual problem that ends up in illness.
So true. So true. So, one of the things I love to ask every nurse entrepreneur that I interview, Kelly, is what is the one piece of advice that you would give to any aspiring nurse entrepreneur, that nurse who is at the bedside thinking, I wish I had more. I wish I could live a life of balance. I wish
Right.
I could start my own business. What is the one piece of advice that you would want to share?
Yeah, and burnout is very real. Being I work in a hospital setting and I deal a lot with inpatient nurses, I see it and my heart goes out for them. So, that is not the only thing. There's more to nursing, which is really cool. So, if you do want to start your own business, there's a lot of services out there. And so that's the one thing if I can suggest is like for me, I didn't have any business background at all. So I took a community ed class on business um, uh, development and planning
Love
and,
it.
what's my
Mhm.
business plan? And then that kind of got me into, oh, there's this whole program called SCORE. And
Yep.
I've taken a ton of free courses to learn about everything from marketing to hiring and firing to culture in the workplace. And then there's legal corps, which they
Yep.
can't answer all your questions, but if you need a little bit of legal advice, because believe me, I spent way more money on legal than I ever thought I would to just be
Yeah.
sure this was a legitimate situation that I could do as far as billing. But they gave me 30 minutes free to answer just more of a generic question, which was amazing. So,
Nice.
there's resources out there, and don't limit your potential, because if you would ask me 5 years ago, are you, you're running your own business, I would have been like, are you sure about that? I just, it didn't really cross my mind, but the opportunity was there. And I thought, it's time. I need to do something. If I don't, who will? So don't limit yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If I don't, who will?
Right.
That is powerful, powerful stuff. And, I meet with nurses every day like you who are just doing amazing, amazing work, recognizing needs, identifying new ways of managing old situations, right? New solutions to old problems. I'm a big advocate for that. So
Yeah.
I just think this is wonderful. And I ask nurse entrepreneurs every day, because the truth is, just like you have seen, yes, you wanted this for your son, and now, it's grown into there's an entire population who needs this across our country and really
Hmm.
around the world.
Yep.
And so, if not me, who, if not now, when? But also,
Right.
I always tell nurse entrepreneurs, your people are waiting for you to show up. The biggest question is, how
That's
long
good.
will you make them wait? Right?
Right.
When
Oh,
you have
sure.
that dream on your heart, somebody is waiting for you. Somebody's already waiting for the problem you know how to solve or have an idea of how to work with. And so people are waiting, and your business, again, is just a great, great example of that, because there's people in need already.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Kelly, I want to thank you for joining me today on the Nurse Entrepreneur Spotlight. The last few minutes that we have here, I really want to give you the opportunity to share with our audience about more about your business, the work that you do, how they can connect with you,
Oh, sure.
if they're in need of your services, or how we can refer people to you who may need you. So, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, I touched on a little bit on things I can do as far as my nurse advocate services. And again, I really want to work with either like transition age students, so like the high school into like young adulthood, because employment opportunities, I'd really like to be able to encourage people to look at all their other options to be employed. Independent living is another big thing. And so looking at all the supports that go into that to make them successful. I do have a web page. It's fhshome.com. So if you'd like to go on there, you can jump on and ask a question, and I'll get back to you as, relatively soon, or as soon as I can. But, it's been really interesting. Just this whole opportunity to be able to share the message and, really be able to try to give back, because it's hard. Even though I run into some roadblocks, I'm trying to keep in mind that these things are happening for me and not to me.
Mhm.
And so one of my big models is always like, get the help and keep the hope. Well, I think of that for my son, but that's for me too. So like, when I'm stumbling with things, I'm just like, let's find out. If I can't do it, who can? But I'm excited. I've got other nurses that I work with that are like, what, were you up and running yet? Because they're like, I need a different job. And I do
Wow.
plan to add on to my staff
Mhm.
as I grow. And fun fact, I have a daughter who's a nurse too. And so at some point I'd like to get her on board. So,
Yeah.
nurses have, again, so much to offer, and we've got to get people to think of us as, we don't just, we're not a physician extender, but we can think on our own, and we can offer so much to bring wellness to the community. And that's really what I want to do. It's just, my passion is autism. I really want to focus on that community, and give other nurses the opportunity to do the same thing. Because again, we mentioned before, everything I've read, the opportunity for healthcare is at home. That's the future. So,
Yes.
um, And one fun thing I am going to do it for anybody who does see your show and would like to mention the Teresa Sanderson show, I will waive my assessment fee for nursing for the next 30 days for anybody who does reach out to join or would like to ask about my services. That would be something I'd love to offer.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you again for, first of all, for the work that you're doing. Much needed. And I think highly valuable. So again, just congratulations, kudos on all you're doing. I want to wish you abundant success, Kelly, and everything in your future. Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who are in need of information from Kelly, I encourage you, please reach out to her that she can answer any questions that you have. And also keep your eye on her because she's got some opportunities that may be coming for nurses down the road here, it sounds like. So keep an eye open for Kelly Friesen at Friesen Holistic Services. And for those of you watching today, I want to thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time on the Nurse Entrepreneur Spotlight. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you, Teresa. Bye-bye.